Two women, both powerful, both saw exactly what was happening to Whitney Houston. One covered it up while one tried to speak up, and Whitney Houston's own team shut it down. Today, we are going all the way in because this story just came out and the royal community needs to hear this. Okay, so if you watched yesterday's video, and if you didn't, go watch it right now. The link is in the description. We talked about Clive Davis, the man who discovered Whitney Houston, helped build Bad Boy Records with Diddy, and died Monday at 94. And I told you his fingerprints were on everyone. Well, today the Whitney Houston conversation just got deeper because two more powerful people have now come forward with things they witnessed firsthand. And what they're describing paints a picture of a woman who was surrounded by people who either looked away or got pushed away. So let's get into it. So the first person we need to talk about is Oprah Winfrey. Now, Oprah was just in France, Cannes, France, accepting the Lionheart Award at the Lumiere Theater, a massive honor on a global stage. And in the middle of accepting this award, Oprah chose to reveal something she has kept secret for decades. The last time Whitney Houston appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Oprah says Whitney had just relapsed. She showed up to take the show high. And at that same point, during that appearance, Whitney Houston fell off the stage. Fell off the stage, guys. Now, here's what makes this even more remarkable. Audience members had cameras that day. So there are photos of Whitney Houston falling off Oprah's stage while high on drugs, allegedly. Those photos have existed for years, and not one of them has ever been published. Not one. Oprah says she looked at the audience and she begged them not to tell anyone. Her exact words were, and I want you to hear this directly from the horse's mouth. Let me play it.
Do you all know this is an amazing thing that happened? I had such trust from the Oprah show audience that Whitney did, I think it was her last show with us, and she had gone back on drugs. The first interview I did with her when we'd gone behind stage and I asked her about her intention, she was clean. But the day she came to my show then to perform in front of the audience, she was not. And she fell off of the stage. And I knew that if that story got out that she'd fallen off of the stage, that she would be destroyed by that. And so even though the audience was there and the audience had cameras, I begged them not to put those pictures out because it would ruin her life, and they did not.
And what about...
That would not happen today, I can tell.
Okay, so Oprah is framing that as a heroic act. I protected her, I saved her life, and I want to be fair. I understand what Oprah thought she was doing. She thought she was protecting Whitney Houston from embarrassment, from the media, from the headlines. But here's my question, and I want the royal community to really sit with this. Whitney Houston struggled with addiction for years after that moment. She died in February 2012 at 48 years old, accidental drowning in a hotel bathtub. Cocaine was found in her system. So I have to ask, if those photos had come out, would Whitney Houston have been forced to confront her addiction publicly? Would she have checked into rehab sooner? Would the people around her have been forced to stop pretending everything was fine? Oprah thought she was protecting Whitney, but what she was actually protecting was Whitney's image, her brand, and the idea of Whitney Houston, because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is let the truth come out, even when it's ugly, even when it hurts. And Oprah wasn't the only one who saw what was happening. So while I was doing my research for today's video, I came across an old clip, a short of Rosie O'Donnell. Now, Rosie and Whitney were not close friends. Rosie had said that herself. They were not in each other's inner circle, but Rosie O'Donnell, from the outside looking in, could see what was happening, and she decided to do something about it. Let me play this clip for you.
You also had a great run with Whitney Houston.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What a tragedy.
What a tragedy. And would you say the two of you were pals?
No, I think whenever we saw each other, we got along great. And then she did that movie with Penny, and then she and I and Penny hosted SNL together.
Right.
And that was wonderful. But, you know, I'm the kind of friend that always tells a friend when I think they're in trouble, which doesn't always make the friendships last.
And
but
you did that.
I did that, and to her people, I did, when she didn't show up for the Cinderella full hour that she had
was
produced.
a big deal. Yes.
And I remember thinking, this is like the beginning of the end, and somebody needs to help her now, right? I mean, everybody gets lost in their life, and when you're in the public eye, you get lost very nationally, and it's really difficult. But we can't pretend we don't see what we see. Some of her people said, thank you. And some of them said, it's not your business.
Did y'all hear that? Rosie O'Donnell, who was not even close to Whitney, could see it was the beginning of the end. She said that, the beginning of the end. And she was bold enough to say something, not just to Whitney directly, but to Whitney's team. And what happened? Some people on that team thanked her, and others told her to mind her business. Mind her business. I need y'all to think about who is telling Rosie O'Donnell to mind her business when she's raising an obvious red flag about Whitney Houston's drug use. Those are not people who are looking out for Whitney. Those are people who are looking out for their checks. Let's keep it real. They're looking out for their access, their position. Because if Whitney goes to rehab, if Whitney slows down, if Whitney stops performing at that time, somebody loses money. And that somebody told Rosie O'Donnell to stay in her lane. And Rosie, to her credit, at least tried. She spoke up to Whitney directly and to the team. That took courage, especially when you're not even close friends with someone. She saw something wrong and she said something. And she got what? Pushed back forward. So let's put this side by side, okay? Because this is where it gets really uncomfortable. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most powerful human beings on the planet, a woman who has openly discussed her own struggles, who built an empire brand around truth and healing and living your best life, saw Whitney Houston, the Whitney Houston, fall off her stage while high on drugs, allegedly, and chose silence. Rosie O'Donnell, not close to Whitney, no financial stake, no deep personal relationship, saw the same warning signs from the outside and chose to speak up and got shut down. The person with the most power chose silence. The person with the least to lose chose truth. And the people in the middle, well, the ones managing Whitney, booking Whitney, profiting from Whitney, chose to protect their access. That is not just Whitney's story. That is the story of every superstar who has ever fallen while the people around them looked away. Because in that world, silence is easier. Silence keeps the money flowing. Silence keeps the relationships intact. And truth is inconvenient. And then there's Clive Davis, rest in peace, who died yesterday, who discovered Whitney Houston when she was a teenager, who was closer to her professionally and maybe personally than almost anyone for the last 30 years of her life, who attended her funeral and delivered her eulogy. I'm not here to put words in Clive's mouth or make accusations about what he did or didn't do. What I will say is that he was there. He was present through all of it. And now, in the same week that he dies, Oprah is on stage in France talking about covering up Whitney's drug use, and Rosie O'Donnell's warning is going viral again. Huh. The timing of all of this, Clive dying, Oprah revealing that information, and me coming across that clip, I don't think is a coincidence. I think powerful people are deciding right now how Whitney Houston's legacy get told. And I think it's worth paying attention to who is telling the story and what they're choosing to include. Here's the thing that bothers me most about all of this. Whitney Houston had money. She had fame. She had people around her 24/7. She had Oprah Winfrey in her corner. She had Clive Davis. She had a whole team of people whose entire job was to manage her life and her career. And she still died alone in a bathtub at 48 years old. So what does that tell us? It tells us that proximity to power is not the same as having people in your corner. It tells us that having a team does not mean you have people who will tell you what the truth. And it tells us that sometimes the people who love you the most or who profit from you the most, let's say that, are the ones least willing to let you hit rock bottom. Rosie O'Donnell was a stranger who told the truth, and she got told to mind her business. That should bother all of us. So, here's what I want to know from the royal community. And I want you to be honest in the comments because this is a real conversation. Number one, do you think Oprah made the right call covering up that stage fall? Or did she enable Whitney's addiction by protecting her image? Number two, who do you think told Rosie O'Donnell to mind her business? Because somebody on that team made that call, but who was it? And number three, and this is the big one. Do you think Whitney Houston would still be alive today if the people around her had chosen truth over silence? Drop your answers below. Number one, number two, and number three. I read every single comment and I will be in there responding today. Before you go, if you made it this far, you are already part of the royal community. Thank you. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video if I gave you something to ponder about today. Share it with somebody, anybody who needs to see it, and drop your thoughts below in the comments. I'm reading every single one and responding to all if I can. And if you haven't watched yesterday's video on Clive Davis, go on over and watch it right now because this story and that story are connected. The link is in the description and it's sitting right in your recommended feed. Also, if you would like to support this channel and see it grow, please check out my ebook, Prenups, Postnups, and Power Moves, a simple, honest guide to money, protection, and power in relationships. The link is in my link tree in the bio as well as in the description. Until next time, stay crowned, Royals. I'll see y'all in the next video.